The scoring champ from the top against Marion. Durant, pull-up jumper, up the rim, and
oh! This is the Limitless Range podcast, and we are snowed in. I've actually got Corey and Pete on the phone this week. This is producer Doug running the show on Polar Vortex Sunday. Had roads closed, people couldn't get to each other, can't get out to the studio, but everyone's on the phone. So if you want to say hi, how's it going, Corey?
What's going on, Dougie Fresh? Yeah, man, I've been shoveling off my driveway every hour or two, and then I look outside, I'm like, what in the world is going on? So I'm glad we're able to still figure out a way to bust this out.
How are you doing, Pete? You staying warm?
I'm doing good, man. I'm just chilling at the crib, relaxing. I actually take these snow days as just a day to kick my feet up and watch TV and
watch some
chill.
hoops.
So
yeah.
Nice.
You haven't been taking the stang out for any donuts or what?
Hell no, dude.
Rear wheel drive.
Testing that.
Well, as everyone knows, of course, you can get at us on social media at Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at One Limitless Range, or our website, limitlessrangepodcast.com. Of course, check out the latest power rankings done by Corey. He always does a great job. Let us know what you think. Or you can get at us by phone, just like Corey and Pete are right now, at 360-356-1699. So, this week, of course, we want to go over your guys' reactions to the trade deadline. You know, there's actually quite a bit of movement and stuff. First off, while I'm still on the microphone here, I'll list off our trivia. Did you guys see this trivia that I sent you?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, we've got, this is the last podcast before we're going to be doing our drawing. Speaking of getting at us on social media. And so I put up some trivia with multiple ticket opportunities. We can get that out of the way now, as long as everyone's listening. And this week's trivia question: in 2007, Kevin Garnett was traded from the Timberwolves to the Boston Celtics. Which players were sent back to the Timberwolves for Kevin Garnett? And you get a ticket for each player that you name. So, of course, that was a huge trade. There are multiple players coming back. Every player that you name, and no cash considerations, is not a player. That doesn't count. And no draft picks. But each player gets you a ticket. Drawings coming next week. But, yeah, let's see.
Pretty nice, man. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, of course, that started one of the first kind of big threes of this era after Kevin Garnett moved and went to Boston. So, Pete, what have you been thinking about this week after the trade deadline and all that? You got anything to rant about?
I mean, just looking at the trade deadline, I thought Philly made some pretty good moves. The Tobias Harris was a big move. I'm really digging that. I think they might be the team to beat now in the East. So
you think that moves them up
that's
to number one?
That excited me. Well, they're still not better than the Warriors, but number one in the East.
In the East, sure. What about you, Corey?
Yeah,
Oh man, just a lot of. Just honestly a lot of shakeup over in the East with a lot of big trades. As Pete touched on, I think Tobias Harris was massive. I think he's a dope addition to already a really stacked roster. I think he's exactly what Philly really needed, a power forward. They were kind of looking for another guy to really fill in their five, and then just a dude that can stretch the floor. I mean, we've been talking about all year since they got Jimmy and they traded away Covington and Sarge that they need shooters, and Tobias Harris is exactly that. Having that stretch four is going to be just a massive addition for them too. So I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
That That one's big, man. I just think that the East in general just, made a lot of ads. If you look at, Gasol jumping up to Toronto, you look at Mirotic over to the Bucks. I mean, there's a lot really to break down with what happened in the East.
So do you guys agree, is that probably the biggest trade of the trade deadline, or at least of that week, is Tobias Harris going to the 76ers?
I wouldn't, for me, I wouldn't say he's the best player that got traded. I mean, I really like Marc Gasol, but in terms of, winning a championship, I look at, him going to Philly, it's like they got 4 legitimate all-star caliber players. And then J.J. Redick is the 5th piece on that starting lineup, and he's a dope player, one of the best pure shooters in the game. So it's like 5 dope players. The only other team that can say that is the Warriors.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's pretty cool. So yeah, I feel like they're the biggest winners moving forward after the trade deadline. What about you, Corey? What do you think?
Oh, man, I mean, obviously I'm with you, dude. I think Tobias Harris to Philly, that was huge. I think to me, if I'm going to go the biggest winner, part of me wants to go with Toronto because I feel like they really had to make a move. So Philly already had something going on. I think they needed somebody else, but they kind of already had the set with Simmons and Embiid down there, and then hoping to stick with Jimmy Butler. But I feel like Toronto after this year might be in shambles if they didn't make something happen for Kawhi. I think they absolutely had to go after somebody. I think they got Gasol, and I think if they can make it to the finals this year, then there's a chance that they can convince Kawhi to stay. So I see it as not only were they going after getting Marc Gasol and somebody that can really help them, they were reaching for trying to also make a move that can keep Kawhi. So I think that what Toronto did, I think, was huge.
That's real smart. That's true. I mean, hey, even if they can't convince Kawhi to stay, gosh, going to the finals is going to the finals for the Toronto Raptors, and that probably gets them closer too. But so those are a couple of the biggest trades. What do you guys think, besides, of course, Anthony Davis not getting traded after all that hubbub? What was the biggest letdown? Like, who should have been traded that didn't get traded, or what fell through? What do you think, Corey? What should have happened that didn't?
I mean, as I talked about, on the last podcast, I believe, or at least the last couple, I mentioned it plenty of times, the Washington Wizards to me are in a lot of trouble. And they made a move to get Otto Porter off, which I think was huge. But I really would have liked them to get some picks out of Bradley Beal. I mean, they still have an opportunity this summer, maybe even next year at some point. But I think that they need to move Bradley Beal. He doesn't work with John Wall. They got John Wall for 19 years in a wheelchair, and that's just where their money's at. So I just feel like at some point, they got to get rid of Bradley Beal. I really thought they were going to make another move and make it happen, and they just didn't. So to me, that was a big disappointment and miss. I think Bradley Beal is worth some first round picks, and they could really get something back and really move more in the direction of rebuild, especially with John Wall gone. This is a great opportunity just to go, complete rebuild and really start to tank and get a better, lottery spot. And I just didn't think they did that very well. So
what do you think, Pete? That's a good point.
I think the Pelicans, man. I mean, even if you take away Anthony Davis, they did. Julius Randle is on a 1-year deal. They didn't move him. It's like, I can understand holding AD and waiting, but they should have tried to get rid of all those other guys and just go full rebuild. I mean, there's no point in, now they're like over here stuck playing all these guys that they know that aren't even going to be part of their future. They're going to, these players that they're going to be playing, they're going to be forced to play, like Anthony Davis. The league's already come down on them saying that they have to play him a certain amount of minutes and can't miss any games or they're going to get fined $100,000. So it's like, now there's no way they're going to get a really dope lottery pick with with those guys playing. So, I mean, I would have been in sell mode. I would have tried to move probably Drew Holiday's contract, even though I really like him. I would have moved Randall for sure. That would have been a must move for me. He's on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, you could have got a pick for
I think
that.
that's a great point, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Julius Randle really could have helped a team in contention. And I think some guys really would have probably tossed him some good stuff for him. I think that's a good one.
Yeah, for sure. So the Pelicans really just, unless they get something done big time this summer with Boston or whatever they're trying to do, I mean, they really kind of dropped the ball then, huh?
Well, yeah, they moved Mirotic, but I mean, they really didn't get much back for that. And then you pair that with they had by far the most pieces to move. That, you know what I mean? They had a ton of guys they could have moved to really start this rebuild, this process. You know, you have Davis, Randall, Mirotic, and Holiday. If they felt that they're going to go rebuild and that none of these players are going to help them win right now, Randall's going to leave, AD's going to leave. They obviously traded away Mirotic. Why not just clean house? You know?
Yeah.
That's what I would have done as a general manager. I would have moved everybody. Just blah, blah, blah. Man, I maybe would have held AD, to get the best offer, but everybody else would have been gone, knowing that Anthony Davis isn't going to stay with this team. And I would have tried to get, pieces to help me get Zion and help me get some of these young players in this draft, more picks for the future, because that's the only way anyone's going to New Orleans, obviously. So,
well, yeah,
that's a good draft. I would add in another group in the Charlotte Hornets. I was really surprised. I know they were really in the talks with Marc Gasol. And you got Kemba on the last year of his contract, and it's like you look at that roster and the way it's built, and they didn't bring anybody in. I mean, bye-bye Kemba Walker, in my opinion, whether that's New York, whether that's LA, one of the LA teams next year. I think they lost Kemba Walker. They didn't do a good enough job of landing somebody, and that's pretty disappointing to me.
Yeah, I agree. That's another team that could have been like the Pelicans, so... They needed to go. I mean, Michael Jordan just doesn't know what to do as the owner.
Absolutely. I just kept hearing things about them over and over again leading up to the deadline, then absolutely nothing. I mean, I can't think of anything really that happened over there. But, speaking of trying to get future talent, places that can't get it, I was just looking through all of the trades that went through this past week. Almost totally forgot when the headline came through that Markelle Fultz got traded to Orlando. What do you guys think about that? I mean, obviously Philly's going all in. We were just talking about them. They're getting rid of that. They've decided to try to make the finals. They don't care about Fultz's future. They want right now. Corey, what do you think? What do you think that's going to do for Orlando? Do you think this is just another busted point guard playing in Orlando, or what?
I don't know what Orlando's doing, to be honest. I don't know, man. Giving up they gave up a first for him, right?
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, so
Sixers got Jonathan Simmons and a first-round pick for this upcoming draft and a second-round pick. But his first-round pick's protected.
I don't know, man. That's another one. Now that we bring up the Orlando Magic, I know Pete's on this as well. It's like you got Moose, sitting there in a great position, great salary for this year, and only $12 million. And maybe they're really wanting to plan on bringing him in long term. Maybe that's their MO on not trading him. But I just feel like you got an opportunity to maybe move this guy and lean towards the future and maybe get some picks. You got Aaron Gordon, who maybe move and maybe end up with some picks. And I mean, your team really is built to go nowhere at this point. So now you're giving away assets to bring in Markelle Fultz. I don't know, man. I just don't get that at all. I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm with Corey. You said it's, I haven't really looked much into this trade, so I need you to break it down for me a little bit more. It's protected. What's the? Do you know what the exact?
I don't know off the top of my
protection?
head. It just says protected 2019 first round pick, probably top 5. I would guess that's how most of them are. And then, and also a 2019 second round pick.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about the second round pick, but the first round pick,
But I mean, none of these are going to be. I don't know. I mean, the Magic, they're trying to be in the playoffs, right? In the East, they're trying to get there. or are they going to be too far out? I mean, I don't see how they can get all the way to the bottom, and Sixers aren't going to be, it just seems like they gave up 2 picks and Jonathan Simmons to get Fultz.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of it because of what Orlando's pick could be, Well, I mean, they'll probably be, in the bottom 10, something like that.
Yeah, it could
by
be.
the end of the year, bottom 12, so it's a pretty good pick it's not the craziest risk for a guy who's highly touted and has a ton of talent, but I feel like Philly really cashed in on some damaged goods, if you really think about it. They got rid of a problem, got a first-round pick that they can use maybe to get a shooter next year, And with all the high-end talent they got going, I'm sure, if they pick 10 or 11, it's going to be they can, have their choice of a premium shooter, because teams are going to be focused more on the guys who can create and stuff like that, the Zions, Barretts of the world. But I don't know, man. I think Philly kind of won that trade right now. The only way Orlando wins is if Fultz becomes really a star, at least.
Looks like a first
because,
overall pick.
They need star power. So, and I agree with Corey with, it makes no sense. They didn't trade Moose. They didn't trade Gordon. I don't know. And obviously, Fultz isn't going to help them this year. So that trade wasn't, they were trading him in hopes that he'll live up to be the number 2 pick, Wait, he went 1
He went
or
number
2?
1. Yeah.
He went number 1. Okay. In hopes to live up to his number 1 pick potential.
Yeah.
So by doing that tells me you're going for the future, trade Voos to recoup those first back, trade Gordon. You know what I mean? You're going to be waiting for Fultz to develop.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like there's just no reason for them to sit in the middle. It's like, I mean, we talk about this all the time, but I mean, if you're going to be in the middle, you might as well just, in my opinion, trade away and assets, especially when you've got them. It's one thing if you don't have the assets to make it happen. I mean, you don't really have if you have horrible contracts, but I mean, Aaron Gordon's contract, to me, not the greatest, but not terrible. I think you might have been able to get something for him. And then obviously Voos on the last year of an absolutely perfect contract for him. I really think you could have got something for him. I mean, the Lakers missed on AD. I guess they're, obviously they were focused all in on AD, but could you have squeezed Voos to the Lakers and say, look, obviously the Pelicans aren't calling you back. Why don't you toss Ingram, Kuzma, and a first to us, and you guys can have Voos or something? You know what I mean? To me, I just feel like they could have got, I don't know. I feel like they could have got something from him. And now what are they going to do? Sign Voos long-term for what? For them to still be 8-9 seed? I don't get it.
Yeah, supposedly he says he'd like to stay in Orlando, right? I mean, he wants to. He likes the franchise for some reason. They probably can get him a good extension for whatever reason. But even besides what the Magic was doing, I mean, gosh, we always talk about how much better the Western Conference obviously is than the East and stuff. But do you think overall this trade deadline and how things have shaped up and a couple of stars moving over, did the Eastern Conference win the trade deadline?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they won the trade deadline, but they're still the inferior conference, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So, but I mean, yeah, they definitely won the trade deadline. I mean, they got all the star power. They got the big names in Gasol and Tobias Harris, Mirotic. I mean, even Fultz was still traded from east to east. So, yeah, East is definitely the big winner at the trade deadline.
Yeah, Corey, do you think this means, I mean, those top teams, loading up even more like Philly and Toronto, does that mean that the one that makes it to the finals could actually give Golden State a run for their money or what? Does it even matter? No, it's not happening.
Yeah. No, nobody's giving Golden State a run for their money unless there's some massive injuries, which I guess, can always happen. Steph gets hurt, KD gets hurt, or, even Cousins. And I feel like they'd have to have a couple injuries to really affect that team. And I feel like that's the only way that anybody's keeping up with them. But I will say, man, I mean, obviously the West is still, way more stacked, especially from 1 to 10. But I tell you what, man, that second round of the playoffs in the East, holy crap, that's, to me, is going to be some incredible basketball to watch. I think for the first time in a long time, I mean, obviously with, LeBron over there, we always knew who was probably going to make it to the East. We had maybe one other team that we were hoping could knock LeBron off, and it just never seemed to happen. But now it's like, I don't know, man. I really don't know who's going to come out of the East. I think it's crazy. I think maybe another loser of the trade deadline. Really, they didn't have to make a move, but is Boston, man, when you look at these other three teams, I know Boston was our prediction to make it out of the East. That's who Pete and I predicted in one of our first shows. It's who we've kind of still leaned on with their coaching staff and their depth. But, man, if you're looking at what has now happened to these other three teams, I think it's a lot harder for Boston to be that team that's coming out. We keep seeing, all these things come out with, Kyrie, and now we see guys not having fun. Morris is saying we haven't had fun in a while, and it seems like there's a crack in that armor, and the other three teams are leaning forward. Man, it's interesting. I don't know, Pete. You mentioned you have Philly now, you think, with that trade?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna. For me, just watching the maturation of Boston has really disappointed me. You can go with, they're not believing in each other and all that stuff, but also I just feel like we kind of overrated them off of last year's playoff run. I think we were all ready to be like, oh my God, Tatum's on the verge of being a superstar, like after that playoff run he had. And he's really just, you really break down his numbers. He's a good player, but he's not even a star yet, So it's like, how loaded really, if you really, really take it in totality, is Boston really that loaded? If you really break down Jaylen Brown and Tatum, the guys that people, the Roziers, we were looking at these guys thinking like, oh my God, these guys are all stars. And then you add Kyrie and Hayward back and they'll be stars and it'll have a 5 stars with Horford. But if you really just look at it, the only one that's really got any kind of superstar, abilities is Kyrie, and it's only offensively. And, you break down everybody else, they're pretty good, and they are pretty deep, but, right now it's just like, with Kyrie's injury history and Hayward, kind of just not being himself, it's going to take time for him coming off the broken leg, and all these young guys not taking a step forward like we thought they would, Horford
right.
Getting older. It's just not really playing out the way we kind of envisioned it. You know what I mean? So it's like that to me, on top of the chemistry issues, makes it even worse. But I feel like even if they had good chemistry, I would still be doubting a little bit because of the way that the young guys have developed. They haven't developed at the pace I thought they would from seeing what they were doing last year, for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, man,
I'm with Corey. I'm not really looking at Boston to make much noise anymore.
It's a great point for sure. I think, especially when we look at it too, the scariest thing when you really think about it too, between the four, because I think all of us are in agreement, with Vic out, I don't think anybody's really going to knock off these four. I think that's going to be the final four in the East. When Boston plays any of those other three teams have the best player on the floor. To me, you have Kawhi is better than Kyrie, right? You have probably, in my opinion, you have Embiid, who's more valuable than Kyrie. You look at Milwaukee, you're talking about the Greek Freak, who's, in our eyes, the MVP right now, probably the best player in the league right now, besides Kevin Durant, in our eyes, over Kyrie. So you're talking about those three teams have that star over them, which is going to be tough. I still feel like Boston is going to be in the mix unless this drama is really serious and they're really going to start to crack and they fold. I think if this team comes together and their chemistry starts to click, then I think that they still have a really good chance of getting out of the East. I think they have the best coach in the league, which we know in playoff matchups is massive. And they do have a little bit better of a bench, I think, than the other three teams. But if this team isn't gelling, this is the thing that's troublesome for Boston. If they're not gelling and they're not playing their best game, then they're not beating any of the other three teams. Where the other three teams, I think, have a little bit more room to slack. You know, if JJ and Jimmy don't have a good series, you got three other dudes that are like, okay, Simmons and Embiid and Tobias Harris carried us. Where if Boston isn't clicking on all cylinders, like Pete said with Jason Tatum, if Jason Tatum doesn't step up and be the playoff Jason Tatum we saw last year, then, yeah, I agree with Pete, man. It's going to be really hard for these guys to get there.
Yeah, as we're recording it, I mean, Boston just lost or blew its second consecutive 20-point lead last night, right? I mean, they're kind of, although Kyrie was hurt, they're kind of falling apart at the seams and all that drama's happening and stuff like that. And like you were saying, those other three teams are great.
To play off of Corey, like, he said they have the best player. All the other three teams have the best player over Kyrie. And he's honestly right about that. You can make an argument that they have their second best player is better than any second best player on Boston after the Gasol trade, So, I mean, you could argue Gasol's better than anybody after Kyrie in Boston. You can argue Chris Middleton's better than anybody over there in Boston. And obviously with Simmons, Butler, and Tobias, you could argue that they're all better than the second best player over there in Boston.
So I mean, are you saying Tatum's the second best in Boston?
Well, I mean, I probably would give it to Horford, in my opinion, come playoff time. So, yeah, I think that they're all better than Horford right at this point. His career, he's regressing a little bit. If you look at the numbers, you could see he's taking a step back. And there's a lot of things going on, And then, I know me and Corey both respect the coach. And, Corey just said he's one of the best coaches, and I have agreed for the longest. But, you got to get discredit here if you can't get these personalities to mesh. Like, I feel like a great coach would have already had this shit handled. We're already almost at the All-Star break, and you're still dealing with these issues. You're still dealing, it's like, come on, man. Like, even like Steve Kerr had way more drama going on over there with KD and Draymond, and he handled that. All that shit got taken care of, It's like, why is this stuff still lingering? Why is Kyrie and these guys still fighting? I feel like as a head coach, I would have gotten that shit solved. In my opinion, I would have went in that locker room and be like, look, man, Kyrie's our guy, he's our leader, whatever. Just let's follow him and let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
Everybody's time will come. You guys are young. Like, I feel like he's not stepping in or something. He's just letting these guys beef. And I don't know what's going on there, but I just feel like it should have been taken care of already.
Yeah, you got to make it a priority.
That's a great point, Pete. I mean, maybe Brad Stevens being as young as he is, we know he's an X's and O's genius. Maybe he's just not a player relationship genius when it comes to this kind of stuff. I mean, he's obviously great with dudes that love him. He gets dudes to buy into his system, which he seemed to always do, even in college. But maybe as a young dude, dealing with these chemistry issues just isn't something that he has wisdom on. And a lot of these older coaches have seen similar stuff like this plenty of times, whether that's being an assistant coach or as a head coach. And, maybe Brad just has never had to deal with this.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting, man. I'll be very interested to see what happens.
Well, we've been talking about teams that have done well, teams that have won and lost at the trade deadline. What do you guys think about like individual players? What player was a winner at this trade deadline? Like went to a good position or something that really helped him out. Just going to spotlight him. What do you think? What do you think, Corey? What player was the winner of the trade deadline?
Oh man, honestly, there's a couple, man. I mean, smaller stuff that I'm actually looking at. Markelle Fultz getting off of that Philly team, getting out of that pressure spotlight. If you were the number one draft pick, you better step up for us. He's going to get a new scene, and when he gets healthy, he might get an opportunity to shine. I mean, I hope he does. I don't necessarily know if it's coming, but I think getting out of Philly for him was very important because he didn't have a role there in the first place, and he's already got the pressure of the whole city being like, dude, we traded Jason Tatum and a pick for you. Come on, dude. Step your game up. So I think that's massive. And then another small one, obviously I'm a Portland guy, so I'm already seeing this go down a little bit, but It's just in 2 games, but I feel like I'm seeing Utah Rodney Hood a little bit rather than Cleveland Rodney Hood. And we saw what happened to Rodney when he went to Cleveland. We were all kind of like, man, this guy was a dope scorer for Utah. You know, a lot of us were utilizing him in fantasy, and we're like, dude, what happened to this guy? And I mean, I guess that's what happens when you play with LeBron for a year. Your whole life just goes to shit. So I guess we should have predicted that. But Rodney getting to come to Portland, man, I just feel like Portland's a cool spot, and he's going to get a chance to revive his career a little bit. If he goes out and he balls for Portland and maybe he helps him get past the first, second round, whatever it is, he shows some playoff magic, he shows us some stuff, I think that's going to really help him in the future contract-wise. You know, obviously team-wise, some of these other ones in the East were massive, but we already knew Tobias Harris was dope. He was going to get close to a max next year. You know, we know Mirotic is dope and going to help the Bucks out. We know Gasol is dope and he's going to get paid. But I feel like with what Rodney was doing in Cleveland, he was about to be like almost jobless or like a little contract, you know. And if he balls out in Portland, that's serious dollar signs.
What do you think, Pete?
Yeah.
Pete, what are you thinking, man?
Well, thanks for saving me some, Corey. You named everybody, but
sorry, bro.
Here you go. I'm just messing. I was gonna name. I'm excited to see Gasol get to actually play in the playoffs. I think that's pretty cool. You know, Corey made some good points. I like a bunch of the players he named, and but yeah, I just feel like Gasol's going from being on Memphis, team that wasn't going to make the playoffs, to now he gets to go and show, that he still got some juice left, and be the second star on a contending team, and that'll be pretty fun to watch. And then I like one of the first trades that happened. This Dennis Smith Jr. He could really, this could go 2 ways. They could move him, whatever, who knows. But he could really luck out. If New York gets Zion, signs Boogie and KD, could you imagine being the point guard with those 3? Like, serious.
Right.
The point guard's dream come true, and, just being in New York, and that would be really fun. He went from a situation where he was like, being dubbed like the problem, in Doncic's development, in Luka's development, to now being the face of New York for now until these other guys come, and then he can just be a player that helps. I think that's a pretty good situation. So
that's a great one, Pete. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. I think that's awesome.
He was the only one left, man.
Yes.
Well,
See, man, I was leading you into a great one, dude. I knew you were going to pick him, so I left it for you. That was awesome.
I've got one I wanted to ask you guys about, someone's change of scenery. From the same team, too. Harrison Barnes went to the Kings, and wanted to know your guys' thoughts. I mean, like what exactly the time frame is for the Kings here, what they're looking at doing. Shout out to a couple of our friends in our league, of course, big Kings fans. So we'll have to see what they think. But Pete, what do you think this does for the Kings? Why'd they pick up Harrison Barnes?
Hold on. First of all, let me clear this up. Do we have 2 Kings fans in our friends group, or do we only have 1? Or do we even have any? Because I feel like we maybe have a bigger LeBron guy or a bigger Steph guy. I mean, I don't know, dude. Are you really Kings fans because you're rooting for the Lakers to make the playoffs over your Kings? I tell you what, I would never make a prediction to make my point. I'd be like, man, I really hope the Lakers make it over Portland. I just have to make my point here. What?
Damn.
Get out of here.
That's good. You're referencing Nate or Kyle on that one, because that is a good burn.
That's straight up that's to Nate right there. Yeah. I mean, I think Kyle is definitely a fan. Maybe they both are, but yeah, Nate talking about he thinks the Lakers are making the playoffs, and then he tried to save it by saying, "Oh, I think my Kings will get in too." It's like, bro, you don't bring up another team before your team when the Kings are ahead of the Lakers in the standings.
Nate's a prisoner of the moment, bro. Come on. I mean, he was repping LeBron, and then LeBron had that issue, and then he was acting like he hated LeBron, sharing all these memes.
Hey, let's not go too far off the rails here. All right.
Then they win a game, they have a game winner, and then he's like, yeah. So I mean, you know how Nate is, but
we'll get Nate on the show.
Question. Oh yeah, we'll murder him. But I'm not even remember what the question was again now. What were we talking about when we were laughing about Nate? So,
I just want to know your thoughts on Harrison Barnes to the Kings. I mean, they're shoring up that spot. I mean, it's good. It could be a great pickup for him. Let's see. I hope it is. He's on my fantasy team. But, what are they trying to do? What's the picture here? Big picture.
They're trying to get a player to help them win now and compete in the playoffs and get in there and give some of these young guys some playoff reps. They need that because it's a different animal. And when you lose in the playoffs, you get seasoned. You know what I mean? You taste that, and it makes you want to taste more, and that's what they're hoping for. I like the addition. They have so much cap space with all these young guys right now that Harrison Barnes really doesn't even affect them because they got a beautiful cap situation. I mean, I'm not a fan of Harrison Barnes' contract at all, but I feel like if any team can take it on and not, suffer, the Kings is probably one of the franchises. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
So,
yeah, it's crazy.
It wasn't a horrible move.
Even with the addition of his $24 million contract, the Sacramento Kings are still second to the lowest in salary payroll this year.
Wow. Did not know that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, dude, the Kings, I'm telling you, the Kings is a beautiful landing spot if a free agent wanted to go
to Sacramento.
A becoming team.
True.
I'm serious. No, because think about it. If, let's say they didn't get Harrison Barnes or they move him or whatever, they could have, if Katie went and signed there, they would have money for 2 players and they would have all those young players who are on these. They got 3 years left on their deal. Fox has 3 years left on his rookie deal. Bags has 4 years. So, I mean, I think Buddy has 2 more years left on his rookie deal.
Yep.
So that's beautiful, man. I mean, if you're a star, why not be around, all that young talent? And they're making no money. So you'd have a few years of some good dominance there, I feel like, But let me throw something at you guys. I think this is kind of funny. The butterfly effect, because I'm curious what Corey and even, your thoughts are, Doug, but we're talking about how no one has a chance to be the Warriors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So, okay, think about this. Let's just talk about some butterfly effect here. Nobody pursued Cousins, right? Let's say,
right.
I feel like I think teams might have helped the Warriors win a championship here, because if they didn't allow the Warriors to sign Cousins, would Philly have a shot realistically? Would Philly be favored? I'm wondering because, I love KD, you know that. But KD, Curry, Clay, and Draymond, and we all kind of think Draymond's, kind of lost a step a little bit. It was kind of like a big 3 in Draymond.
Yeah.
Versus those 5 out in Philly. I think that would have made for some good, must-see basketball. And then no one to guard Embiid, because Draymond's been struggling during centers. So imagine if you had to guard Embiid.
Plus, I mean,
that could have been a freaking battle.
Finals fatigue. I mean, that shit's real. It's hard to play that many games year after year, make the finals. I mean, good teams are good teams, but each year that goes by, even if you're going up against a three-peat team or something, they're just, each year that goes by, it's that much tougher for them to do it. Even Jordan's Bulls, they talk about, gosh, winning in 1998, it was absolutely grueling. And it could have been, like you're saying, gosh, if they hadn't signed Boogie or something, I think it would have been that much closer. I mean, it might not have even been the Warriors going to the finals, right? What do you think, Corey?
I mean, I think the Warriors definitely still make the finals. But I do.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I do agree. I do agree. Man, that's a great point, Pete, with Philly. If they made it to the finals, man, it's a tough one, man. I think it makes it a lot closer. I think it would be tough to know. I think you really broke some good stuff down. I think it was you and DZ really broke some stuff down with some of the things that Golden State was missing without a 5. And I think that with those 5 that Philly has over there, you might be right, dude. If they don't have somebody to cover Embiid, dude, it would be tough. I don't know who I'd give the edge to, but, right now, if they match up with Boogie, I still say, Warriors in 5. And if Boogie's not there, I see possibility Game 7.
Well, even
Yep, I agree.
even with this Philly
You think
trade and
what-
everything, we're still all sleeping on the Bucks way too much, though, I think. I mean, they're the number one team in the league.
I think that's a great point, Doug. I think we definitely are sleeping on him a little bit. I think Greek Freak just being the player that he is, and I think one of the guys that's really being overlooked in this trade deadline is Mirotic. I think, obviously these other guys landed some bigger players. Gasol and Tobias Harris are probably bigger additions. But, I mean, maybe I'm just a prisoner of what happened to me last year in the playoffs being a Portland fan. But Mirotic can ball, man, especially in the playoffs. I mean, Middleton, I saw a quote from him the other day that was talking about 4 years ago that Mirotic was actually the guy that really turned the series for the Bulls
Sure.
in the playoffs when the Bulls beat the Bucks 4 years ago in the first round. And we've seen it time in and time out. Last year, I mean, I really felt like the Pelicans did a good job, but I really feel like if you take Mirotic off that team, some of the runs he went on where I'm like, did this guy just hit 5 threes in like the last 2 seconds? Like, I feel like this guy just keeps making everything he shoots. And if he can do that for this Bucks team, you give Giannis a dude like that can really stretch the floor. It's like, man, if he goes lights out, if Mirotic plays like he did last year against Portland, if he can do some of that stuff, I'm with you, dude. I think the Bucks have a great chance of making it to a championship.
Well, and chances are he will. I think I heard it on The Ringer the other day. They say it's no joke. Look up his splits after the trade deadline, like how he plays like March through May. Every year it's been like that. He works his way back in, and then it's just scorching hot for that last part of the season and into the playoffs. I almost kind of forgot until he was traded over there that, yeah, he's been to the playoffs every season of his career or something like that, because he was playing on those Bulls teams, and before they collapsed, and he went to the Pelicans. So, yeah, I think they could be pretty hot. But, I mean, do you guys think that any of this really changes the playoff picture then? I mean, is anyone going to move up significantly in the West or the East? What do you think, Pete? Is anything like that going to happen?
I mean, it's still going to be the Warriors. The Warriors, I mean, I would bet my house if everybody's healthy, the Warriors are going to make it and win,
All right, I'm house hunting, bro. Let's do it.
Let's do it. No, I don't really see much change there. And in the East, you got, I like Philly now to edge out Milwaukee. I had Milwaukee, but after that trade, I'm kind of leaning towards Philly. It's close. I do, I think Greek's the best player out of everybody, but Philly's got so much firepower, man. And I mean, hypothetical, did you guys watch that Warriors Philly game? Did you guys get to catch that like a couple weeks ago?
Mm-mm.
I didn't.
I didn't.
I feel terrible.
It was a good battle.
Just highlights.
No, Corey, did you watch it?
I didn't actually, man. I didn't get to catch it.
Damn. Well, for the people that did watch it, Embiid freaking murdered Looney. I'm talking like it was embarrassing, dude. He scored like 15 straight points on him, just post, drop, step, dunking all over him. It was so hard to watch. They had to force Cousins back into play more minutes than he was scheduled. And I just keep thinking in my head, like, wow, if they didn't have Cousins, Embiid would just eat the Warriors up, It was, and I'm sure our listeners who remember that game, they're going to be like, damn, man, yeah, I remember that. Embiid was just killing Looney. It was so bad. It was such a mismatch. But I kind of wish that Boogie didn't sign with the Warriors, because I would love to just see some more drama for these finals. But I'm sure we all agree it looks like it's going to be the Warriors winning. And,
yeah.
Kind of sucks that it's just so, the most drama we get is, where's KD going to sign?
Right.
It's like, that's the big drama
Off-season
in
drama.
the NBA now.
Yeah. What do you think, Corey? Is anything going to switch up? I mean, any big seeding changes or anything like that, or is it all going to be pretty chalk?
Man, I think it really made the East top four. Like I said, I think I'm looking forward to that probably even more than I'm looking forward to the West Final Four.
Yeah.
I think it just made everything up in the air, dude. I think everybody except for Boston over there and those big four really made a big addition to their team. And it's really just going to be exciting to see which team clicks, because that's what it's going to come down to, right? As Pete touched on earlier, is Tobias Harris going to go in and they're all going to click and it's going to work out great? Because if they are, then that team's probably in the finals. But is Tobias Harris going to go over there and Jimmy Butler's going to be crying about touches and Embiid's going to be crying about the way he's utilized and things like that, and their bench doesn't step up, then they might get knocked out. Does Giannis go freak mode, or does Giannis go last year? I mean, he didn't have a terrible playoff, but do the Bucks go last year playoff mode? Does Boston, Jason Tatum step up, things like that? So I really feel like those four over there, it's really going to depend on just who's hot, which team has chemistry. Does Boston figure their stuff out? And that's really going to be the deciding factor over there. And in the West, not really, man. I don't feel like there was really any trade shakeups. Like I said, I like Rodney Hood. I think he, after watching him play the last couple of games in Portland, I think he's going to be a great help for Portland. Obviously, nothing to push him over the top against Golden State or anything like that. I'm not that naive. But other than that, man, I don't think there was really any big shakeups besides maybe, like you touched on with Harrison Barnes, maybe helps the Kings get to an 8 seed. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm really hoping that's the case. I would love to see the Kings grab an 8 seed and the Lakers miss the playoffs, as I predicted earlier in the year. But, other than that, man, not too big a shakeups standings-wise.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, we're all overlooking our obvious choice, the biggest winner, the Lakers picking up Reggie Bullock, right? Yeah. Well, we'll just, everyone already knows that. But
that's massive.
huge trade. But I think it's just about right. I mean, as we've all been saying, the East is just that much more exciting right now. I mean, those playoffs could be really fun. Well, I was gonna say, just like Anthony Davis, after not being traded, I think I'm going to put us on a minutes restriction here. We actually did pretty good for having everyone calling in from our igloos stuck in the snow here. I really appreciate it, Corey and Pete. I think we did a good job, huh, Pete?
Yeah, that was fun. I feel like this could be a fun outlet for us in the future. If there's any breaking news or something big happens, this would be a good way to get content out to our listeners. We can all just hit each other up.
Yeah.
For a nice little 30-minute discussion or something.
Everyone be on the lookout just in case. Breaking news. I mean, we're setting up a new studio here, and we might just get everyone in on the phone and get something out there for you to hear. So, well, next week.
Pete,
go ahead.
Hold on real quick. Pete, I know we're on minutes restriction over here, but
let's
Pete,
hurry it up.
Are you feeling the same way? Like, I'm not trying to rant on this too much, but
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're going to hear about it.
Can LeBron James get any luckier, man? I feel like I make a great prediction. Everybody's calling an injury thing that knocked him down, the Lakers down or whatever. But, man, first of all, I really feel like they're not in position to make the playoffs. And then you got the Clippers who want to save their pick. Let's trade Tobias Harris and go tank mode pretty much. And the team that's in the 8 seed, that's 3 games above the Lakers right now, that has a pretty solid team, is now going to tank the season away to basically open up the slot of the 8 seed. It's like, come on, man. Really?
I thought you were going to bring up the Reggie Bullock signing. I mean, that's the big one. Getting LeBron lucky, right?
I kind of want to. Well, I find it kind of funny how, on Doug's itinerary, he had nothing with LeBron on it, so he's trying to avoid that. But anyway,
go for it.
I'm with you, bro. I'm totally with you, man. It's like he's getting lucky, and I don't even want to hear about the injury. It did factor in what happened, but here's the way I look at it: how many years in the East did LeBron and Dwayne Wade and Kyrie and all them get to just take weeks off because they were in the East and anyone could win them a game? Chris Bosh could go out there by himself and win them enough games to make the playoffs because this was such a joke. So it's like now he's finally, how many Western Conference teams didn't make the playoffs because their star got hurt for a couple weeks? You know what I mean? Because it's a battle, it's a gauntlet. He's finally tasting that.
Yeah.
In the West, if you get hurt, it can cost you the playoffs.
He's never experienced that in his career. I don't want to hear no crying. It's happened to KD. KD got hurt. You know, Russell Westbrook got hurt. A gang of players get hurt and teams miss the playoffs. So, I mean, why are we supposed to feel bad for LeBron James? You know, like,
yeah, and
the first time in his career.
He comes back and they lose by 1,000 points too to the Pacers. Drove me crazy. His biggest loss in his career, and it's not looking good for him.
You want to top off the luck, the playoff what Corey's saying. I think the luckiest thing is this guy having fucking Rondo. Like, you know, Rondo holds a meeting. I'm serious, dude. I know it sounds crazy, but if Rondo's on that team, that team's done. They're done. They're meltdowning. These young kids, you know, are revolting against LeBron James, and their chemistry's done. But look who saves the day. Rondo throws a team meeting, gets 10 players in. They all practice together. They all start gelling again. You know, Rondo hits the game winner.
Yeah.
You know, he's over here keeping this team alive. And now guess who's hanging out with Rondo now? You see LeBron going to the Duke game with Rondo. So that's kind of a coincidence after he tried to trade him. Now he's kicking it with Rondo because he knows Rondo has the pulse of the team. You know what I mean? So he wants to be buddy-buddy with him so he can get back in with everybody else. And I think if the Lakers do anything, it's because of Rondo, not because of LeBron. You know, I mean, obviously they weren't going to go anywhere without LeBron, but
sure.
I think them having Rondo was just such a lucky thing for LeBron James.
Yeah, man, I absolutely agree with you, dude. I think he's getting saved on that. To me, you know, to finish off with this Lakers topic, LeBron crap, I really just laugh, dude. So they get blown out by Indiana, and then everybody's like, oh, it's post-trade deadline. Nobody got traded. They only got blown out because, you know, guys thought they were going to get traded, and now they're the drama, and now the trade deadline's done, and they're all going to come back together like, bro, we did not forget the fact that you were trying to trade us. And then you see the Boston game, and you see all these people coming back out from the woodworks like, dude, I told you the Lakers are going to kill it. They're going to make the playoffs. Look what they did to Boston. Dude, I'm telling you right now, any listeners out there, don't get this twisted. Let me break it down for you really quick. They did come back and beat Boston. You know what I've said all year that the Lakers struggle on? 3-point shooting. They're god-awful. I believe it's like 32 or 33% on the year as a team. They shot 53%.
Yeah, they set a franchise record that game. So
the Kuzma threes you're seeing that he broke out in the fourth quarter, that was like, oh my God, they came back. LeBron's lucky bounce from out of bounds. He ended up in the corner and hit a three. Those things are not usually happening for them. This is an example right here. How about today's game? 143 to 120. They got blown out by 23 again. Why? Because they shot 37% from three. They do not have 3-point shooters. I've been trying to tell you guys this. Don't come at me with Rondo saves and everybody's coming back and you hit a game winner and blah, blah, blah. The team's gelling again. They shot 20% higher than they normally do from beyond the arc. What happens when they go back to normal? They get smacked by Indy. They get smacked by Philly. I'm telling you right now, I still predict them to miss the playoffs. I don't care what anybody says.
Dude, I'm wondering where LeBron sat on the bench. Like, you know, like he's buddy when they're winning. Right? Was he sitting 3 seats away from everybody today? You know, like, I don't know, man. That dude's such a crap, bro. Man. I've been saying it. He's a phony. He's a fraud. You know, you can talk all the crap you want about KD. You know, he's made stupid decisions. I'll always clown on him for some of his decisions, but he's not a phony, bro. He's not going to sit 3 seats away from a young teammate because he's butthurt. Like, man, that stuff's just so weak. And then, like, when LeBron fans defend it, and it's guys I even know that would never do those things, and they try to defend it, it's just mind-boggling to me that someone would defend it's like defending a serial killer. You know, like, oh, it's okay he did that. It's like, dude, you would never, you know, jump to 4 different teams. You would never sit 3 seats away from your teammate because your butt hurt because of the score or whatever. He didn't give you the ball. So why are you defending this? Why do people defend these actions like it's okay? Just because it's their favorite player. Kevin Durant's my favorite player. Am I a fan of his media issues, dude? No, I can't stand it. It's hard to watch sometimes. Was I a fan of him going to Golden State? No, I was not a fan. You know, I can have a favorite player and still keep reality, you know, but LeBron fans really can't justify reality from non-reality. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
They're just so delusional.
You want to be a fan, not a stan, right? That's how it goes.
Yeah, no, those are great points, Pete.
Well,
I'm totally with you on that.
You too, bro. You too. You killed it. I mean,
Yeah, I'm glad you guys got a
I'm glad you
rant
brought it
in.
up.
I was kind of worried how it would come across over the phone. That was perfect.
that-
Corey saved it.
No.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear that, Rick.
Like
That's
Pete-
like, all right, that's up, guys.
yeah, like
No, that's
Good rest, guys.
that's
Go.
fine with me. You know my feelings.
we're on a
LeBron.
minute. We're on a minutes restriction. No LeBron talk. We gotta go.
Yep. Oh, I forgot to
Right.
press record this whole time. No, it's fine with me. So, well, then speaking of LeBron, All-Star games next week. Team LeBron versus Team Giannis. And we'll be live streaming our drawing for the free jersey. So hopefully we aren't all snowed in, because otherwise that live stream of me picking a piece of paper out of the box is not going to be very fun. But we should all be here. Of course, catch us live streaming on Twitter, and then listen to the show when it comes out. And we'll see who won this free jersey. You know, just make sure you listen for your name and all that. I'm pretty excited about it. I know you guys are too. And everyone will get to see the new studio set up here. See some of our jerseys, for example. So what do you think? What would you get for a free jersey, Corey, real quick? What would you pick?
Probably my fourth Damian Lillard jersey.
Damian Lillard. What about you, Pete? Another Durant jersey or something vintage?
I'd probably go vintage, man. I like vintage jerseys. They're always, pretty cool. Maybe like a vintage Scottie Pippen or Charles Barkley.
Cool.
That'd be pretty sick to own. Something like that.
Well, I know we got someone left us a message with the trivia answers from last week, talking about how they want a sweet retro Sonics jersey. So I'm already rooting for them. So, but thanks for being on, guys. I'm gonna have to get all this cut up and edited. Make sure everyone can hear you guys on the phone making your great points. And of course, everyone, limitlessrangepodcast.com. Hit us up on the phone or on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, One Limitless Range, and we will see you next week.
All right. Good job, fellas.
Later, guys. Later.